Hi, this is Mr. Adler, and welcome to Ciencia on Fuego. Today, we're going to be talking about the human body, and specifically the digestive system, one of your body systems. Now, for some people, learning about the digestive system would be a lot to swallow, but I'm hoping I can break it down into bite-sized pieces for you. So we don't have an actual human to look into to see their organs and how they're working, so instead, we're going to do a simulation. We're going to use different household items that you probably have in your kitchen to model what different organs in the digestive system do that help you break down your food, absorb nutrients, and then remove whatever you can't digest as solid waste from the body. Scientists call that feces, but you might just call it poop. Let's start with the first part of the digestive system, the mouth. Now, you use your mouth every day, but you probably don't think of it as the first step in digestion. Your mouth, though, is unbelievably important. You have to rip up your food into teeny tiny pieces. That's called mechanical digestion, and it's the first step in the digestive system. To model that, I'm going to start with a fork, a knife, a plate, and today we're going to be eating just some white bread. Now, my actual teeth rip up my food into small pieces, so that's what I'm going to do with my fork and knife. I'm going to tear, I'm going to cut, but this isn't really my fork and knife. These are my canines, my molars, and all of my different teeth inside my mouth. One more time, this is really how your digestive system begins, with your mouth and your teeth ripping up your food into teeny, tiny little pieces so that your food is ready to move down your throat and into the next step of the digestive system. Looks pretty good, right? Now that I have my bread ripped up into teeny, tiny pieces, it's time for the next organ of the digestive system, the esophagus. That's a hard word to say, so I'm going to do it one more time. Esophagus. The esophagus is a muscular tube that goes from your mouth down to your stomach. Now, that food doesn't just fall down, it's actually pushed down by really strong involuntary muscles. Involuntary muscles are muscles we don't have to control. When you chew up your food, like a nice big bite of mango, I don't have to go and force it down to my stomach. Involuntary muscles work without me even having to think about them. So to model this, I'm going to use my esophagus, this balloon. Now, this balloon is closed at one end, so I'm going to cut it so that I actually make a tube, just like my esophagus. Now, your esophagus has saliva, or spit, is what you might think of it, going down to help the food move down. So instead of saliva, because I don't really want to spit in a balloon, I'm going to use this vegetable oil. I'm going to open up my esophagus balloon, and I'm just going to put a few drops in here so that the food can move through as easily as it can. Make sure my esophagus is completely coated with that vegetable oil, or that saliva. Now, I told you the esophagus pushes food down from the mouth to the stomach. Here's my mouth, and today, this baggie is going to be my stomach. So I'm going to open my stomach up. My esophagus is going to sit right above, and my mission is going to be to swallow that food and push it down the esophagus. But since I don't have involuntary muscles surrounding my balloon, my fingers are going to be modeling those involuntary muscles of the esophagus. Okay. Oh, swallowing as much bread as I can, pushing through. Oh, there we go. Nice big bite of food dropping down the esophagus into the stomach. Let's see. I'll eat a couple more bites. One more time, I'm swallowing the food in my mouth. It's going down into the esophagus, and the involuntary muscles are pushing that food down into my stomach. All right, let's take one more really big bite. Big bite. I'm going to ball up my food. I'm going to swallow really big. It gets pushed straight down the esophagus and lands in my stomach. And now what you have here is some food that's made it all the way down into my stomach. Now we're up to the third organ of the digestive system, the stomach. Now, have you ever been sick and thrown up and noticed a burning feeling inside your throat? That's actually because your stomach has something called stomach acid inside. So to model the stomach acid, I've got some orange juice, which is actually a little bit acidic. The stomach, just like the esophagus, is actually surrounded by powerful involuntary muscles. And those muscles kind of work like a blender. Have you ever seen a blender making a smoothie? You turn it on and it whirs really quickly, and it might turn lots of fruits and maybe some ice into a smoothie, or maybe some ice cream into a milkshake. Well, your stomach's involuntary muscles work kind of the same way. The stomach is a powerful bag that uses involuntary muscles without you needing to control them to turn your food into a liquid. So I'm going to use my fingers again as those involuntary muscles. And you can see all of that bread that I swallowed, it's kind of going from a solid into a liquid. This is a necessary step for me to continue digestion. The food is actually still mostly the food. I haven't done a lot of chemistry inside my body yet, but what I have done is now broken it down inside my teeth, pushed it down to my stomach through the esophagus, and now, once my stomach is done blending up all of that food, I've got nice, liquidy food. So we finished in the stomach. Now what? Well, the fourth major organ of the digestive system is the small intestine. Now there's actually two intestines, the small intestines and the large intestines. But we go first to the small intestines. You know the show is called Ciencia on Fuego. One way that I teach my students to remember the small intestine is first is to say primero pequeño, first, small. My cup today is going to act as my small intestines. So I'm going to take the contents of my stomach and I'm going to go ahead and dump them into the small intestines. And you can see there are some little pieces of bread, but I've been pretty well blended into liquid inside the stomach. Now, this is where things really get interesting. The nutrients need to get to your cells. Your body is made of trillions of cells. They are basically the building blocks that make all living things on planet Earth. You have cells in your brain, you have cells in your muscles, you have cells in your legs. Your entire body is made of cells. Now these nutrients, they're in my small intestines, but that's just here. I need those nutrients to get everywhere. The way you do that is you need a little help from another body system, the circulatory system. Your circulatory system is the system that uses your blood to carry materials all over your body. We're going to simulate that right now. I've got 3 cups, and these cups, they're modeling my blood and my blood vessels, my veins and my arteries that carry blood all over my body. In the small intestine, right over here, the nutrients are absorbed into the blood. So I'm going to take this sponge and I'm going to squeeze out the nutrients into the blood. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is gross. Fortunately, you don't see it happen inside your body. Oh yeah, there we go. Those nutrients are getting squeezed out into my blood. Now, once the nutrients have been absorbed into the blood, I can actually take these nutrients all over the body to cells in my brain, in my muscles, in my legs, pretty much anywhere. So I'm going to move these cups, which once again are the nutrients being carried by the blood, over here. Because now my nutrients are going to cells all over my body that need those nutrients to produce energy and keep me alive every day. But you can see we have some food that wasn't digested. Your food has a ton of nutrients for you, but not everything in the food can be digested. Some pieces of the food, like once you take the nutrients out, there's still some left that your body needs to get rid of as waste. That waste is going to be called feces. Feces, one more time, that's the scientific word for your poop, is basically made of all the leftovers from your food that you couldn't digest and you couldn't really pull any more nutrients out of. This is where the final part of the digestive system comes in, the large intestines. Now we're going to put our cup aside, the small intestines, and for our large intestines, we've got this piece of pantyhose. But one more time, this isn't really pantyhose. This is actually the large intestines. And For our undigested food that we need to get rid of, I've got some nice oatmeal. Now, your large intestine actually does two things. Before it gets rid of your waste, it actually pulls the extra water out of your undigested food because your body might be able to use it. So, I'm going to take my oatmeal, one more time, my undigested food, and I'm going to put it into my large intestine. Now, I told you that first, we need to absorb some of the extra water from my undigested food. So I'm going to surround the large intestine with this paper towel, and once I do, you'll notice the paper towel has gotten pretty wet. That undigested food had a ton of extra water in, and that water is going to be absorbed into my blood, just like the nutrients were, so that I can keep that extra water for some of my other body processes. Now what I have left in here is my undigested food with my water taken away. And now the last thing the large intestines and the digestive system has to do is get rid of that remaining undigested food as waste. And you know where we put waste. That's right. Waste goes into the garbage. So I take my large intestines, I use some muscles, I squeeze out the remainder, and let's recap what you just learned. There are three major functions of the digestive system. First, your digestive system breaks down the food you eat into nutrients, which you need for energy and daily life. Second, your digestive system absorbs those nutrients into the bloodstream to be carried to all of your cells. And last, your digestive system removes solid waste or feces from the body. Now, to do that, your digestive system uses 5 main organs. First, there's your mouth and your teeth, cutting up your food into teeny tiny pieces and starting the digestive process. Second, there's the esophagus, that muscular tube that pushes the food down to the stomach. The stomach uses powerful involuntary muscles to blend up your food into a liquid, which is then sent on to the small intestine, where the nutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream to be carried to all of your cells. Last but not least, that undigested food enters your large intestine, which removes extra water and then removes the waste, that solid feces, from your body. I hope that didn't feel like too much to swallow, and that in the end, you were able to digest a lot of what we talked about today. Have a great day.